Oh, what a mess. I didn't even clean my desk or anything. I got these model kits over here. I got a bottle of alcohol. My camera's on the wrong angle. You know why my camera's on the wrong angle? Because I moved my monitor up. Why did I move my monitor up? Because yesterday I was watching... Where did the DVD go? I misplaced my DVD. Well, here's the box. I was watching the Lord of the Rings. I'm looking for the jewel cases now. 4K extended edition. Oh, let me restart. I was watching Fellowship of the Ring extended cut or extended edition, and it was interesting because just a day earlier somebody was like ranting. I think it was on Prophet of the Dragons channel, which I highly recommend because he's a really cool dude. And if you like Wheel of Time, then you'll like Prophet of the Dragon. And if you don't like Wheel of Time, well, you might still like him. Hey, what's up, Jim? I'm glad you're here because I was gonna do a recorded video, but I actually have a sort of a fashion slash biking question you'll see in a second. But real briefly, I want to touch on something. So yesterday, I said I was going to do a video about flashing something. And I didn't actually do the video. And because I turned off my right side monitor yesterday, now my monitor numbers are jumbled. So I have to fix that first. So, for example, when I click monitor 1, it's showing monitor 3. So I have to fix that. Yeah, so fun fact. If you use DisplayPort and you have multiple monitors, it can kind of suck. And so what I did a long time ago was, like a year ago, I realized that as cool as DisplayPort was at one time, means there was a time where DisplayPort could do things that you couldn't do on HDMI. That has changed ever since they came out with HDMI, 3.0 or whatever they call it. That there's like now it's actually like HDMI is good. It's like more than capable. And here we are. Here's the jewel cases. So, reason I bring this up is because I discovered that when using DisplayPort, if you turn off the monitor, Windows will act like you unplugged the monitor. And so if you have 3 monitors and you have everything set up as monitor 1, 2, and 3, or like in my case, like you can see I got some apps on my main monitor. I got YouTube up here on my top monitor, and I got OBS on my right monitor. If I turn off my right monitor, OBS automatically gets shuffled over to the main monitor. And if all of my monitors were DisplayPort monitors, it would just mess everything up. Like all of the apps that are like arranged neatly on one monitor would now get moved over, and then I have to manually rearrange it. So my point is, yeah, that's why DisplayPort can be a little annoying. And so there's 2 solutions for dealing with that. One solution is just use HDMI, or use DisplayPort on like your least important monitor. But yeah, they could be a bit verbose. I think that's why I had a hard time getting started on the first book, Eye of the World. Yeah, because I'm a big fan of the Hyperion Cantos by Dan Simmons, and some people say that was a bit verbose too. You got a VGA, you got a CRT monitor. That's kind of cool. So yeah, VGA is actually not bad. Either VGA can do 1080p. It's not like, they don't guarantee it'll do 1080p, but it definitely does 1080p, like no doubt about it. I mean, it's like analog, but it works. You're getting your RGB signals, independently. So it can do that, Obviously, like, you're not going to be pushing 120 hertz, but whose GPU, whose graphics card wants to do 120 hertz at any resolution upwards from 1080p. Not mine. Of course, I don't have a fancy graphics card. It's got a humble 2060. What's up, David Glenn? So anyway, real quick, let's wrap up the topic from yesterday. So yeah, I bought a Blu-ray drive so that, I have a Blu-ray drive on my desk. I have a USB Blu-ray drive, and I've been using it to make backups. And by backups, I don't mean making bootlegs. I mean making a legitimate backup, because I am a firm believer in physical media, like Snowdub. And so I had to flash yesterday. I had to flash my Blu-ray drive. So I came into my bedroom yesterday with a trench coat on, and I went, and then the Blu-ray drive started working a lot better. I think that, the best way to turn on your Blu-ray drive is to flash it. But jokes aside, greetings to Snow Dub Music and Entertainment. How you doing there? Let's see if I can actually, let's see if my Stream Elements bot works. I don't think it's going to work, but if I type !Snow, it's supposed to do stuff. And apparently it's pissing on my grave. Well, it's not my grave, but, you know, my screen. So anyway, I still got to play with that Stream Elements bot. I'd really like it to work so that, you know, consistently, because it works sometimes, so that I can then proceed to automating the thing. But getting back on topic, so you can use any Blu-ray drive and an application called Make MKV to make backup copies. And I'll show you this right here. So let's go to my main monitor. And you can see on the right side of my ultra-wide monitor, it says backup done. And although people might make copies of movies and upload them or make them available as torrents, me personally, this is for personal consumption. I put it in my media library, and then I use an application, a web app actually. It runs on my server, and you can run this on a PC, you can run this on a Mac, you can run it on anything. And it's just a application where, let me make sure I don't have any prawn up on screen. No, I'm kidding. So I really got to clean up my library though. But you know, we got like, did I say prawn? Anyway, so, you know, you got like anime, and what's interesting, it does TV, so in theory, it'll organize the TV stuff automatically, or if I put movies in, it'll organize those automatically. I still am kind of old-fashioned. I still manually name everything, but hypothetically, if I named everything, you know, with the right naming convention, even if I didn't, it should automatically add everything neatly to the library. So I got my Godzilla collections. I got actually 2 versions of Godzilla here. I really got to organize my Star Wars. But the point is, why do I use MB? Well, it's really cool. So let's pick the Blu-ray folder here, because back in the day, Blu-rays had to be in their own, like, compression. And if I play anything, I guess we'll pick Ben-Hur. What this lets me do is so cool. So we're going to start playing the movie. And if we go down here to this little gearbox, it says quality. So essentially, if I'm playing it on my home network, I want to pick the highest quality. Hey, what's up? Never said it would be easy, just worth the entertainment. But what if I'm playing it on my phone? I want to watch Ben-Hur on my phone. I want to watch Gundam on my phone. I want to watch Star Trek on my phone. Well, maybe like the cell service is really bad. Maybe I go into the battery tunnel, which for some reason they renamed it after some governor or mayor. It's now called the Hugh L. Carey Tunnel. But the battery tunnel, which is basically, it starts out right under Battery Park. In fact, Battery Park City. In fact, if you saw the movie Men in Black, the building that they show where the Men in Black work, that's like right on top of the battery tunnel. So, okay, maybe like I get some cell service in the battery tunnel. Lately, it's been hit or miss, but it's like a really slow connection. Or maybe I'm in the sticks. Maybe I go to upstate New York and I have a bad cellular. So let's pick 360p. Let's pick 480p actually. Let's start there at 420 kilobits per second. I'm going to mute the audio unless you guys want to hear that Ben-Hur music. Do you guys want to hear the Ben-Hur music? Give me a 1 if you want to hear the music from Ben-Hur until I get a copyright warning on my screen. Yeah, you guys want the music. I'll give you the music. Okay, I'll give you guys what you want. It's not really my own streaming site. It's more like a personal streaming site. Anybody can use MB. So a lot of people use something called Plex Media Server. And Plex Media Server is a little bit concerning because it does the same stuff as MB. So how does MB work? You install the application on your computer and you put movies in a folder and MB picks it up. And Plex does the exact same thing. It does. But the problem with Plex is that you also like give a lot of private information to them. Like literally, like it's like almost like for social media purposes, so you can share on social media whenever you watch a movie. The problem is there's a non-zero probability that these people will someday get copyright letters because of this, you know? So MB doesn't do that. MB does not store that private information and on that end. And so, yeah, it's more secure in my opinion. And you're in the driver's seat. But both MB and Plex have this feature where you can transcode. And transcode means if I'm streaming this stuff on my Chromecast and I have a video in a format that my Chromecast won't play, this will automatically re-encode the video in real time while you're playing it. Oh, let me turn the audio on, I'm sorry. This will automatically re-encode the video and audio in real time as you're watching it. So now if I'm on a cell phone and it can't play a certain video codec like the Blu-ray 4K, or maybe I don't need to stream 4K. Maybe I have a 4K movie. In fact, I have Sharknado on here. I could play that. I have Megalodon. So you could crank it down to a really low bit rate, which means that, yeah, it's doing more work on the server side. But the network connection is, I'm not using a lot of bandwidth. I'm not using a lot of data. And I'm going to check your message. I see you got a message, Jim. I didn't miss it. I got you, brother. Let me just see. But I want to do Meg. Let's look up Meg Griffin. No, I'm kidding. So Megalodon. Here's a 4K movie right here. This one I might have to mute the audio on. And look, like, it literally goes all the way up to 4K at 160 megabits per second, which is about, what, 16 megabytes per second, maybe, I think, like in megabytes. But you can see how, like, I can crank the quality down. Or I can say, you know what, I want 1080p 60. And let's see, I'm going to read these messages. Question. Was Battery Park once upon a time an artillery place? Yes, as a matter of fact, Battery Park City, which is actually the park itself, it's got like a bunch of memorials in there. You got walls with a bunch of names, you know, like veterans of World War II. Oh, this is cool. Dude, this fits on my ultra widescreen monitor. I love finding, so that's one of the cool things. Yesterday, I watched like 90% of Fellowship. Oh, yeah, I can put it up here. That's why I have this. See, I have a camera on my desk so I can do this shit. How cool is that? How does that add to the ambiance to have like a little camera showing my keyboard? Some hippy dippy shit right there. So anyway, this fits on my ultra wide monitor right now. This is like that shape you're seeing up here. That is the shape of my monitor. 21:9 aspect ratio, which is similar to like, I don't know, 23:1:9 and whatever the hell they call it. But you get my drift. So yeah, we got this. Like, you know, and then if I want to play this at actual 4K on a 4K display, I could. But why would I? Why would I waste bandwidth? So I love MB. And so getting back to Lord of the Rings, what does this have to do with flashing? Well, basically what happened was I went to put this in my Blu-ray drive and it wouldn't read it. And I found out the reason was that I think most Blu-ray drives do triple layer discs up to 100 gigs. But a Blu-ray XL drive can do 128 gigabyte triple layer disc. And they kind of hint at it on the box. Like you got this little thing that says 4K TV, 4K player. And that's not just for playback. Like that's, you need something like that on the computer. You need a Ultra HD friendly drive. And this is where things get weird. The term Ultra UHD friendly. Why is it friendly? Why is it not just UHD compatible? Well, because, you know, obviously the industry goes out of their way to make it so that you can't make a legitimate backup copy. Because yes, legally you can make a backup copy. It's sort of illegal to break the encryption, but it's legal to make backup copies. So it's like one of these like things on legal murky. Give me one. So anyway, I'm sorry. I just had to take a message on the verbal box. So where was my brain? Okay, jokes aside. So bottom line is, yeah, they prevent you from making backup copies, even though it's totally, you know, legal to make backups of CDs, yada, yada, yada. So here's the caveat. I buy my new Blu-ray drive. Now, if you bought the $300 Pioneer drive and you update the, and it's got updated firmware on it, you can't use this program. This is called Make MKV. If you buy a drive that works with it and it has an updated firmware, it won't work either. But I was able to downgrade the firmware, so that's what I did. And so let me just get the application I downloaded. So if we go to my downloads folder, let me just make sure I can find it. I downloaded the entire package. I downloaded 3 things. So I downloaded the All You Need firmware pack. I'm going to find it right now. I put it in a folder. Did I put it in a folder? And I downloaded the single drive flasher. So if we open this application up, you can't actually run this application while you're using the drive. So I'm already, you know, using it, but I already did it. So I basically picked the right drive. That's the model number. And I had to pay $25 for this, but it was well worth it because instead of paying like $300 for a Pioneer drive that you cannot downgrade without taking it apart, it's almost like modding an Xbox. I was able to pay $60 for this drive, and for another $25, I was able to flash it, flashing the firmware. The firmware is essentially a memory chip that runs a sort of operating system. It's what controls the drive. It's sort of like the brains, or yeah, it's like the operating system for the drive. It is the software for the hardware. When you hit the button on your eject button, you're telling the firmware to open up the disk tray. When you have a disk spinning in your CD player and you hit the open button and you have to wait 5 seconds for the disk to stop spinning before the door opens, that's the firmware. If they don't program, in fact, there was a bug with one of the DVD drives, the Blu-ray drives I was looking at, where if you open the tray, sometimes the disc would come out spinning. It would be sliding on the plastic, which is not good. And a firmware update would fix that bug. But the person had to choose not to update their drive, because if they did update the drive, they wouldn't be able to copy these 4K discs anymore. And you can't really play these legitimately on a PC anymore. Intel sort of dropped support for a decryption feature because of security reasons. So there's a bunch of reasons why it's perfectly legit for me to be making copies of this. So anyway, I watched Fellowship last night, at least like most of it, because it was 5 a.m. and I just decided to just stop at 5 a.m. And, you know, I have an 80 gig backup copy here. We're going to take that 80 gig backup copy, and it's all because I was able to flash it. That's the point of the thing. And so there's really not much to demonstrate here. The point is, this is what I hypothetically could have just downloaded this free package and used probably a different program to flash the firmware, but I didn't want to mess it up. This utility did it really easily, and if I buy the same drive again, I can use it again. So fine. I'm going to take my USB Blu-ray drive, hook it up to my server. I'm going to 3D print a auto loader, and I'm going to make it so that I can have it automatically load DVDs for me so that I can add more DVDs to my library. And when you rip copies of DVDs, there is an extra step, but we're going to save that for questions or for another time. So let's get to the chat. I'm sorry I haven't really been reading the chat, but we're going to do that right now. Napster plus Lars Ulrich is the reason I won't listen to Metallica. Yo, tell me about it. Seriously. I agree. I don't want to listen to Metallica half the time. Like, sure, I'll listen to like Master of Puppets, Ride the Lightning, you know, but like beyond that, I'm not listening to Saint Anger. Get the out of here. I used to like listen to the S&M album a lot. I still kind of like it, but you know, I haven't listened to it in years. Been listening to a lot of anime OST covers lately, and of course the song. I like the Seahawks song. I forgot who guy's name is. Something Dub. He does a song about the Seattle Seahawks. That's a good song too, actually. Yeah. And then he's got this lady in the beginning. She's like, "This ain't karaoke, bitch." Wait, this ain't no karaoke, bitch. Okay. Anyway, I can't sing like a girl, but damn, my Blu-ray is woefully out of date, I guess. Yeah, but that's okay. You know, I mean, it's understandable. Like, unless you're buying a freaking 4K movie, and if you don't have a need, you don't. Me, one of the reasons I bought Lord of the Rings on 4K is so I could take screenshots, like literally, pictures from the disc, and I can show you what I mean right here. So, I think it's on my third monitor. Let's make sure we don't have any pornography there. No, I'm kidding, but here we go. I got it right here. So, if I go into my main monitor, you're going to see here. Now, when I play the movie off the disc, I have to press the letter C on my keyboard to crop it. Because, you know, otherwise it comes up as double letterbox, meaning you got black bars, pillar box on the side, letterbox on the top. These black bars are actually part of the movie. They're assuming you're watching this on a normal 16:9 aspect monitor. But once I crop it, it fits perfectly in my monitor, like, without the black borders. And so, what's cool about this is, what does 100% zoom look like? Well, let's see if we can try that out right now. Unfortunately, I updated my preferred image viewer yesterday, and I accidentally installed the Classic Edition. So now, it works a little differently than I'm accustomed to. I just want to see 1:1 ratio. I want to see the zoom. There we go. So this is 100% zoom. So meaning we're not zooming in any closer. We're not zooming out. This is like on a 1080p monitor what 4K looks like. And so my idea was like, I wanted to get like screenshots, 4K screenshots from these movies, you know, in case I want to maybe make some desktop wallpapers or do some Photoshop stuff. I don't know, make some backgrounds, whatever the heck it was. Now, some of them a little blurry looking, I'm noticing. Maybe that's because the camera is panning. Maybe that's just the nature of the computer-generated imagery. But let's get to the chat real quick. So I would have to give them my real name. Okay, wait, let's see. Real audio server costs 10 grand in the... I remember... Oh, man, I used to use Real Player, Real Encoder, Real Player G2. Who remembers Real Player G2? Yeah, let me zoom out again. This is the part where Gandalf is on the Isengard, in the Tower of Isengard. And he basically whispers in the ear of a moth. I just like some of the scenes I love. Oh, this was interesting. So I'm glad I get to show you this. So one, look at the nastiness on this horse. He's got pestilence. That's pestilence right there, right? But take a look at this while I go read the chat. I'm going to show you guys this right here. Let me just make sure I can zoom in. Zoom 100%. Look how nasty that is. Look at the with the freaking orcs. I don't know who put these nails in, but some orcs probably, or I don't know, maybe the actual guy riding the horse, the ringwraiths. Like, they just put the nail straight through the effing hoof. Like, that's like a cool detail. I gotta give it to, like, the directors or Tolkien or both. Like, holy cow. So, let's see. Richard Tyler Lawson. Oh, is that your name? Oh, pleased to meet you, Richard Tyler Lawson. Lawson, I said that backwards, I'm sorry. Napster and Lars Ulrich. Yep, let's see here. Hippy dippy shit. Yeah, you bet. Damn, my Blu-ray. Yep, okay, I'm sorry, I'm just catching up here. Printers became BS. Which ones? 3D printers or 2D printers? Wait, 1D printers. I wish I could downgrade the firmware on my printer to something that won't use all of the colored ink to print black and white. Yo, dude. I know what you mean, David Glenn. Yeah, so that's why I have a black and white laser printer, and I only use the color inkjet printer when I actually need color. So if I was a kid in school, I would print my reports in black and white on the laser, and I would print the covers on the color printer. And if I really want to be crazy, I would print the black stuff on it with the laser printer and print the color parts on the same paper on top of the black. But that's kind of getting a little overkill there. Pirates tend to try before buying, in my experience. Yeah, so, like, that's another thing. Like, sometimes, like, I'll pirate something, and if I love it, I'll buy it. You know, like, so it's not really real piracy. But yes, that's the point. The copy protection forced me to engage in piracy, but not necessarily by riding the high seas in the conventional sense. I mean, I guess paying $25 for a firmware updater is a way to ride the high seas. It's almost like buying your own pirate ship, maybe? I don't know. But, let's see. Also, 45 vinyl singles for cheap. Haven't seen those in decades for professional music players. In my arsehole option, and Justice for All is their best album. Okay, fair enough. Justice for All was pretty good. I vaguely remember it. Which sounds terrible on purpose as a tribute to the Decades bassist. Huh. That's very interesting. Deceased bassist. Yes, Cliff Burton, I believe his name was. That was a way cool scene. Peter Jackson did a great job. Yeah, right? So, you know, anyway, this is why I needed to get this on 4K. Like, you know, because, I mean, I've come to enjoy these movies more. I didn't appreciate them as much when they were new, but I always did like things about them. I think it was just I had a lot of, like, you know, like goth friends who were, like, in love with, like, freaking, you know, like Legolas. So I was like, that shit's gay. But, you know, I get it. And yeah, so basically here's the thing I learned was if I open up let's open up VLC. I'm going to show you something kind of interesting. Let's say you want to get a screenshot from a movie. Right? You got a movie, you legitimately bought it, and you want to get a screenshot from it. So we put the Blu-ray disc in. We tell it we playing DVD or Blu-ray, right? You know, we click open disc, and I hit play. Now, this is interesting. It gives me an error message sometimes, but it's not like a serious error message. Let me do that again. I got to actually close the backup utility first. So all this is saying is that the backup is successful, and if we go into this folder, we have an 80 gig file. And there's different ways. Somebody's able to generate a straight MKV file. I currently have it set up to generate these M2 files because of reasons that I won't get into. But the movie is here. The movie is the 70 gig file. It's the only 70 gig file in here. So that is definitely the movie. And whether I play it off the Blu-ray disc or out of this file, Did it make it? Wait. Okay, there it is. Okay, good, it worked. So, let's say I want to get a screenshot. Let's get that ring shot would have been a good one.
Then the ring did not intend.
All right. So I'm gonna do this now. I'm gonna do Shift S, right? So when using what do you call it? VLC, pressing Shift and S will generate a screenshot. Done. It just created a screenshot. It gave me a little preview in the corner. It looks like a blank screenshot, but we're gonna check it out right now. So let me just close the image viewer. Let me get my image folder back on screen. Okay, there it is. Okay, so this is even more interesting. The plot thickens. So when I open up the picture here, it's perfect. It's got the letterbox in the right place. Now, why am I surprised? I'll show you why. Let me close this out. Oh, your freaking phone, don't ring on me right now. I'm in the middle of streaming. Oh God, that's terrible. Okay, so I'm gonna reopen the movie again. Oh yeah, so wait, this time it'll work. All right, good. So we're gonna open my disc. You know why it didn't work? I picked the wrong drive. So let's pick the right drive. Drive letter G, Blu-ray disc, play. Now it's gonna give an error message because it can't open the menu. Then it's gonna play the movie. You'll see. In the meantime, let's see. Do the nails pierce the horse's flesh? The hoof is like your hair or fingernails. Yeah, so basically the hoof is like your hair or fingernails, but it's sort of like, I think, like a dog, right? When you go and you trim their claws too much, you get to the quick. The quick is the part where there's like a nerve or a blood vessel. So I'm guessing that's the same thing applies. If you want to learn more about hoofs, look up a guy named Nate the Hoof Guy. He basically like cleans out damaged and infected cow hooves, disinfects them, and fills them in, or he'll put like a temporary horseshoe on the hoof. But the idea is that you got a dairy cow, and you don't, obviously it wouldn't be good if they had an infected hoof. So he goes to the farm and he cleans it out. It's like really, sometimes it can be kind of disgusting, but it can also be really informative. Like he'll clean the pus out and he'll rinse it out. So yeah, it's basically the quick, I think, that's generating the blood in the case of that horse's hoof. That's what I'm guessing here. So now here's the issue I ran into yesterday when watching the movie. Okay, so you can see it's got letterbox. So basically, the letterbox is a part of the movie because when you try to shrink the frame. Oh God, these scenes are dark. Let's get a nicely lit scene. Okay, beautiful. So basically, when I resize it, you can see how the black bar remains. So that means it's part of the frame. So what do we do? Well, I want this to fill up my whole screen. This is what I'm talking about. So look, this is my whole monitor. Black bar on the right and left. What's up, Lady Mist? Good to see you today. And you can see the black bar on the top. So these pillow boxes are not part of the film. So how do I solve it? Well, in VLC, you can right click, go to video, aspect ratio, and pick a different aspect. You can also press the letter C on your keyboard to cycle through all of these. So I press the button like 7 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. See, now the cow, everything fills up my screen perfectly. This is a better viewing experience. This is more immersive. This is just better. Now, here's the problem. Okay. I want to try to time my screenshot. Okay. Yeah, we're going to do a screenshot right here. We're going to press Shift S. Now, let's go to the folder with the pictures and see what happened. So, look at that. Your eyes are not fooling you. What it did was, it kept the black bar at the top, but it cropped the bottom. But if I zoom out, we're missing more than just the black bar at the bottom. So we're getting a 21:9 aspect image, basically, but for some reason, everything is pushed down. And you can clearly see, also the color grading looks different. That's interesting. I never noticed that, but that would actually, I don't know if it's because it's a JPEG. It probably is. What's probably happening, no, it's a PNG, but it's probably losing the colors because this is HDR. HDR means high dynamic range. So you have UHD, ultra high definition, which is what it says on the box. But when you open up the disc, so look, it says UHD up here on the top here. But when you open it up and you look at the actual discs, it does say HDR. So I found that interesting that it didn't say it on the box, but it is HDR. So essentially, I mean, having both is ideal, but HDR is like the bigger scientific accomplishment. Having more colors, more shades of gray, more contrast ratio, a higher contrast ratio. This is where it's at. See you later, James, man. Safe travels, man. That's cool. Driving a senior citizen. You know, those old folks, they got mad money in this day and age, man, because they squandered the wealth. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. They squandered the country's treasury. Nah, I'm making jokes here, but you know what I mean? Maybe not. I don't know. It's easy to pick on the previous generation. Everyone does it, right? And I mean, I used to get really defensive of boomers. Sometimes now I get like a little, not offensive, but like, I'll be like, you boomers, but like, I try to be tempered in my, you know, whatever it is, right? Because, and I think like there's, everyone could get criticism. Because I mean, everything we blame the boomers for, I think this generation would happily do if they had a chance. So anyway, I'll have to explore why the color grading is different, but how do I solve the fact that, look, the bottom is missing. Look at the horse's legs. Horse. They're missing. Horse. Oh, God, yo, if Snowdub's still here, which hopefully is not for his sake, we did some horse action yesterday. People were like, why are you watching this? I looked up the horse clip, the original one, and the thing was like, I was actually like, the audio channels were flipped. So when Amaranth was licking or slurping the left ear, I was hearing it on my right earphone. And that's not proper ASMR, right? If you're doing ASMR, you got to get the audio channels right in order to immerse the viewer in their horseplay. So anyway, yeah, so it cropped it. So how do I fix that, right? I want to get a screenshot of the whole bloody thing. Well, this is what I do. When I'm watching a movie and I want to get a screenshot, I pause it and then I press C 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom, we're back at the default. If I take a screenshot, it's going to include the letterbox, but it's going to be the full resolution image. Done. Now, I want to go back to the way it was. So I counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Done. So it's actually not that hard. And it's critical for getting a screenshot off of the Blu-ray. However, as we just learned, is if we're playing the file that we ripped to the computer, it doesn't require us to do that. That's the good news. But the color grading is still off, so I need to learn more about how and why that is. Then based on that information, I can determine whether I need to like adjust it within Photoshop or if there's some other process for extracting screenshots. Like, for example, I might use FFmpeg to extract screenshots, which would be a little more, you know, it's automated, but could be more convoluted. So yeah, that's where we're at. So how do I take this 70 gig file and shrink it? Pretty easily. So we take this right here, we put it in a video encoder. A lot of people use an application called Handbrake. Handbrake is very user friendly. I'm using Hybrid because it gives you a lot of control. Hybrid is better for DVDs just by virtue of the fact that it can de-interlace them. So here's the John Wilkes Booth movie my dad needed me to copy for him. And when you play it back, and you turn off de-interlacing in VLC, anytime the camera is panning or you get fast action, you get blurry, like, horizontal lines. Oh, not anymore, so that's making a fool of me. There it is. These little horizontal lines that look like saw teeth. So, basically, a de-interlacing filter eliminates them, but it'll sometimes cut your resolution in half. So what we want is a de-interlacing filter that'll do it before you play the movie, because a non-real-time de-interlacing filter can do a better job. And so that's what we do here. So we put the movie in, that's our input. We could tell it to save it to any folder we want. It doesn't really matter right now, but I guess we'll pick a folder. We'll pick, yeah, sure, we'll just do Hunt for John Wilkes Booth. Or something. I don't even know what codec I want to use. X265 is more efficient, but it takes longer. We'll get into that in a minute. In the meantime, the chat says, James says, yeah, horseplay. That was a punk waddle worthy pun. Oh, good. And I'm in good company in terms of my puns. I got a certain level of self-hatred installed by boomers And blame from the younger generation. Maintaining any empathy for humanity in general is sometimes difficult. Yeah, that is a challenge at times. Just today, I was going through Quora reading about January, that day in January. I don't know if that is an issue to mention that day, but yeah, and there's a lot of people, they'll say, oh, well, I don't care about the footage that was released on the Tucker Carlson show. Even though I don't give a shit who releases it. I really don't care if it's that guy or this guy. But it's that, if you want, watch all of it. Just watch it all, and people would say, I was watching the news on that day. I was glued to my TV. And that's the problem. You were glued to your TV. Turn off the TV. I mean, if you're seeing factual things on TV, great. But they're willing to bitch that the footage from the CCTV footage is edited. But then they don't believe you can edit things in real time. It's not so much editing, but, you can present a narrative on TV from a perspective that delivers a certain perspective, But anyway, I digress. I don't want to go. All I'm saying is, if you want to, I needed a palate cleanser after going to Quora today because, it's just, I left a comment about tribalism and it got blocked or, whatever you want to call it from a particular group on Quora. So apparently, they didn't like what I was saying, even though I wasn't even trying to be I wasn't even trying to be pro-conservative. I was just trying to be tempered. I was like, hey, look, depending on who you ask, this is what they say. I don't know. You get the idea. So, anywho, we got our input file. We're telling it to save the file here. And there's many ways to skin a cat. But we're going to pick this video codec. We're going to tell it to take the audio and we're going to check the audio settings. And we're going to say use AAC audio codec at 192K per second because I like the quality a little better. And boom, there we go. We got our one audio track. Now, do we crop it? In this case, we do not crop it. I do find it funny that it's giving me a 4K resolution right now. That means that there's a glitch here that I gotta address. That sucks. Oh, I picked the wrong movie. This is Lord of the Rings. I did John Wilkes spoof already. So if I was doing a John Wilkes spoof movie, bottom line is I would turn on deinterlacing right here. And that would get rid of those horizontal lines. That's the point. Since Lord of the Rings is not deinterlaced, does not require deinterlacing, it says progressive scan. That means that you don't get the horizontal lines. Therefore, it doesn't have to apply the filter. But this deinterlacing filter is, in my observation, one of the best and simplest to use deinterlacing filters I've found to date. There's better deinterlacing filters, maybe slightly better, but this is the easiest workflow out of all of them. And the easier options are crappier. So this is where it's at. If you have an old DVD and you're ripping a DVD, rip the DVD using an app like Make MKV, then bring it into hybrid and use this deinterlace filter or de-telecine filter, and you'll be home free in terms of quality. If you're not comfortable with this, use Handbrake to do something similar. But I mean, with Handbrake, as you try customizing the options, it could take an astronomically long time for it to process, and I don't know if the effect's that much better. The result is that much better. So anyway, with Lord of the Rings, we're going to do this in a HEVIC codec. So we're going to do, instead of X264, we're going to use X265. We're going to pick a quality setting that is still pretty high. The lower this number, the better the quality, but the larger the file. A number lower than 18 is way too much. 20 to 23 is what most people would use. 23 is popular. I don't like 23. I think the compression is too high. The quality loss is too much. Now, here's the thing. Remember that letterbox we had? I'm going to tell it to crop it. So if I click picture crop and I click this automatic analyze button right here, it's going to scan a bunch of frames and it's going to determine that it needs to shave off a few pixels from the top and bottom of the video. And so now, instead of giving me an output of, wait, it did not do that. That's lame. That means I have to do it manually. Ugh. Let's take a look at the preview. All right. That doesn't really, oh, that's why I can't analyze it. So it looks like it doesn't know how to analyze the 4K video. For some reason, it's spitting out this green stuff. So there's another layer of caveats that I'm going to have to deal with. Whatever. So getting back to the chat here. Quora, Reddit, etc., full of canceled pigs. Yeah, you're right. And they're a bunch of like 2-year-olds there. It's like I feel bad for them in a way. I pity them a bit, you know. I pity the fool. But I really do. I do pity them because it's like they're closed-minded. And look, I get it. I looked up climate change on Quora today just to kind of see if I can get some tempered perspectives. And in general, one of my issues with climate change, the tenor of discussion on climate change, is you'll get people that'll say like more carbon is good. And they'll talk about, you know, the greening of the earth. And it's true that, yeah, okay, more carbon dioxide is good. And I believe carbon monoxide turns into carbon dioxide. But I don't know. I don't like these like simple, like oversimplified platitudes. Like, I want to be like intellectually honest. I don't like that people on both sides will just adopt whatever talking point is convenient. And I just want people to like, you know, be a little more honest or something. I don't know, like, or just like, and I get it, like nobody wants to cede to the other side, right? It's like, I know me, like I don't want to cede anything to the people on the gung-ho climate change side because they get so annoying, like, and simple-minded in their talking points. But that's not what I'm here to do. My original plan to stream, I'll show you right now in a second. I made the argument, David Glenn, that addiction is a psychological process and not a result of victimization. And the cancel pigs on Reddit rained fire on me for days. Wow. I mean, look, it is a psychological process. There is a physiological thing going on. They could argue like the crack epidemic is the result of, you know, racism from white conservatives or Reagan or something, and Iran-Contra and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, if you care about your communities and you want to, yeah, I'm wearing funny glasses. If you care about your communities and you're upset that other people are ruining them with crack, then help your community. Do something about it. Put your money where your mouth is, you know? No one is addicted to nicotine because it allows them to hide from reality. Huh. Yeah, true. So, okay, these are my my prescription biking goggles, but I never wear them because they look so lame. So what I was thinking about doing is 3D printing something made out of TPU, which is the flexible, transparent material they use on phone cases. But what I need from you guys is I don't know, like you're driving a car or you're on the road and you see some guy wearing this. What do you think about that person? I mean, do I care what people think of me? I mean, generally not, but still. Like, what do you see when I put this on is my question. So what I'm trying to do right now is put some tape on my goggles to try to cover the sides because the cold winter blast, it's hitting it too aggressively. So I have an idea. My idea is to simply this. So what I want to do is I want to cover these gaps on the top and bottom, but to do that, we need to have the tape. We need to cover up the sticky part of the tape, right? So my idea was to like maybe do something like this, or maybe I make it a little wider and bring it all the way across like this. Something like that maybe, you know? And then do that on the top and bottom. Because, like, do I have time to print something from... Or this is silicone, actually. So if I wanted to, I could 3D print a mold from my 3D printer. Obviously, well, where else are you going to 3D print? And then I could pour liquid silicone into a mold and create additional silicone parts. So that's an alternative. But with TPU, you can print it directly, so you don't need a silicone mold if you use TPU. So what I'm thinking is if I do this and then I use like a knife or a scissor to cut off the excess, that maybe this will help to block the wind a bit better. You know, the word cancel pigs, it reminds me of a song by Ozzy Osbourne. You know, cancel pigs gathered in their masses, just like witches at black masses. Oh, okay. So yeah, that's the plan. Any thoughts? Are these like really crazy? Like, should I not wear these? Do you think I look like a psycho or something? I don't know. Like, honestly, like maybe like you know, sometimes people say, "Oh, don't shame people," but no, sometimes people need to be shamed in order to be told that they look like a doofus. And I don't think I look like a doofus, but maybe I do. Maybe this is like that Star Trek shirt I wore. I used to wear when I used to go on dates, and it was great. Like I loved the shirt, but I remember like after a while, I get told that's like the most ridiculous. This I showed this on Pacific 414 some time ago. This is my Star Trek animated series shirt. So you got Kirk and Spock and the Enterprise, right? But then you got this guy with a hose squirting out white stuff, and the shirt's covered in white stuff. So my friend used to joke that it looked like a couple of guys, queer guys, but it's not. It's Kirk and Spock in the animated series. And I love this shirt. I don't wear it anymore because I'm not really a small. Haven't been a small in a while. Back when I was a medium, I could wear this shirt. It would be a little tight, but it looked good, especially if like, you know, I was working out a little bit. But now it's just a bit too much. If humanity develops the technology to control immediate and long-term climate, that is one big step towards becoming Kardashev 1, a Kardashev 1 civilization. Absolutely, David. And you know, it's another thing. It's like, look, like you bring up, I bring up nuclear power as a solution. Many people do, and look, I understand there are valid concerns about nuclear power, but it's like some of the issues I get with nuclear power are dumb. Like people will go, "Oh, nuclear power can't solve climate change because it won't be ready before the point of no return." I'm like, one, I don't give a shit about this fabled point of no return. I just don't. It's like tough shit, you know? Like, and then number two, even if like the point of no return mattered, it's like, well, if we love science so much, and I think we all like science, then let's use science to scientifically find a solution that can deal with the fact that it takes too long to build nuclear power plants before the point of no return. And what might these solutions look like? Well, you know, finding a way to build more power plants quicker in a shorter amount of time. Maybe using small modular reactors. Now, small modular reactors, like I got some lip on that. People would say, "Oh, give me one example of a small modular reactor that's operational." I'm like, just because it's not operational doesn't mean we shouldn't make some operational. You know, it's like that's not really a good reason to not do something. It's like give me an example of people not jumping off of bridges. So it's like, okay, let's all jump off of bridges because nobody's, you know, not doing it. Okay, maybe that's a bad example, but you get my drift. So anyway, yeah, nobody told me not to do this, so I'm going ahead with this right here. It does look a bit Urkel-ish, Poindexter-ish, but I feel like at nighttime, nobody can see it anyway, and it's more important that I can see and not get cold air in my eyes. So the bottom of this black tape here is already able to form a seal. Oh, we got to cover up the actual like adhesive. So that's like the most important thing, is covering up the adhesive so that I don't get my eyebrows plucked. So did you guys see Alex Jones on Jimmy Dore the other day? Oh my god, it took so long just now. I waited like 5 minutes for this to load. So what is going on here? This is supposed to hypothetically let me preview the movie so that I can decide how much of the screen to crop. And yeah, actually I can do that. So what we do is we use the numbers on the bottom here. That button there. And then what we can do is we can tell it to crop things off the top. So if I do like, let's say 500 pixels off the top and I scroll up, well, that's apparently, oh, that's weird. It just cropped all of the pixels off the top. Let's try that again. All right, now That's better. Okay, so it's working. See, the black bar on the top is getting smaller and smaller. See, it's getting smaller, and I can use the mouse wheel. See how it's getting smaller? So basically what I want to do is I want to eliminate the black bars on all sides of the frame. I just want to get rid of it. I don't want the video encoder to even be dealing with it, you know? So that's what we're doing. We're doing the top, and apparently it doesn't let me do the bottom. I think, oh, I see how this works. Okay, so let's just keep going. Hey Google, broadcast acknowledged. Okay, now it's cropping too much. So I'm going to have to investigate this later on. But you can see, I just want to eliminate the black bars on the top and bottom. And right now it's not letting me do the bottom. So I need to explore this a bit further to see what is going on. Like, I still need to eliminate that many pixels on the bottom, and I don't want to eliminate more pixels on the top. So that is a oddball challenge, I think. But yeah, so anyway, I'm going to experiment with this. So let's see. Peak oil was supposed to occur sometime around 05. Yeah, it's another thing. Like, I've seen documentaries about peak oil in like 1999 or, you know, whatever, 2007 or 8. Like, I've seen documentaries about peak oil as well. And, like, this looks crazy. I don't know. Maybe if I'm wearing a winter hat over this could look better. But now we still got to cover up the bottom. And we could probably just put like a little snip in the middle here like this. If humanity develops the technology to control the immediate and long-term climate, that is one. Oh, yeah, we talked about Kardashev 1. Peak oil, we talked about that. Nuclear submarines are an example of small reactors. Modular? Modular is a trick question because you see, with nuclear reactors, right? Like, what do you call it? Marine reactors. You need to have a couple of things. You need to have basically they got to decommission the reactor through a complex process, and I mean, like I think refueling it, that could be pretty complicated. That's the thing. So what I'm trying to do is, by proposing small modular reactors, is have a reactor that you don't have to refuel, because that actually takes, even though hypothetically it would be less wasteful to not, you know, dump the reactor, it actually seems to be more economically viable to just, you know, replace the whole reactor whenever it runs out of fuel. And so if you have a small and cheap enough reactor, you can do that. You can treat the entire reactor as waste. Oh, I gotta do that again. This is kind of tedious. You can treat the entire reactor as waste, and that would basically, you know, that would do the trick. I mean, like, what I mean is, I'm sorry, that would eliminate, like, so one of the issues we get is like when protesters block the train tracks so that they can't dump the nuclear waste, or they can't transport the nuclear waste from a reactor to, from a power plant to a waste site. You get the not in my backyard crowd. What a lot of people don't understand, or don't care to realize, is like, well, look, nuclear waste, where did it come from? We got it from the ground. So is it really that big of a deal that we're just going to put it back in the ground? Now, yeah, do you want to put it in the ground above the water table? Of course not. Okay, of course, I'm not advocating for putting the waste into the ground above the water table. Obviously, I want it below the water table. I know when we talk about hydraulic fracturing, people will bring that up like it's not a big deal. But yeah, there are places where they fuck up the water supply doing hydraulic fracturing, all right? And like, we can argue like to what extent our carbon output contributes to climate change. Personally, I just don't care, but like, I mean, on either side of the argument. But at the same time, I can understand that it's probably not like great to just keep pumping carbon that is stored in the ground, But I'm not gonna go and say, oh, the oil companies are doing this and that. Because like, problem is that there's plenty of incentive to also push the climate narrative that people ignore. All right, so let's see how this looks now. Great. Speaking of cancel pigs, I'll probably get canceled for looking like a madman here. Now I look like one of the guys who died on the Franklin expedition. Remember, me and Punk Waddle talked about that on stream? So, it's not perfectly sealed, but I think this can work. And I have a spare roll of tape, so I can keep this one at home and bring this one on my bicycle so that I don't have to worry. Plug and play nuclear power. Exactly, David Glenn. Thank you. That's what I'm getting at, Like make it somewhat plug and play. Make it cheap. Well, make it plug and play in the name of safety and economy, I guess is what I would want for the technology and whatnot, Because the problem is that they want to spend trillions of dollars. They say that climate change will cost trillions of dollars because of what it caused to go bad. They also say that climate change will cost trillions of dollars to prevent or fix or deal with. So my proposal is, okay, spend trillions of dollars on over-engineering some kind of nuclear power. Over-engineer it for safety, okay? Like, that's the issue. Now, even though government ownership can get sloppy, maybe there's something to be said for government ownership of nuclear power. Maybe like half and half, Like half private, half government, half public, So that there is like always somebody in there who will ensure that safety is a priority. Because at the end of the day, it is the state that could end up being on the hook when things go south. So that's what I'm kind of like getting at. It's like they want to say that people would die from climate change. Okay, well, people are going to die from some of the bad solutions that are being proposed in order to deal with. All right, this really messes up my nasal, but I think it could work. You kind of look like Plastic Man from the DC Comics. So we're probably going to keep wearing my ski goggles, but it's like these have a way clearer view than my ski glasses. That's why I'm looking at, wearing these, because like my ski goggles are just way too out there, My ski goggles are scratched and tinted yellow, and that's kind of could be good. Yellow tint in the snow could be good for like seeing more. But it can also make things complicated, So, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I think that these might work if I'm wearing a snow cap. They might otherwise make me look like a madman. I can wear them like this. Better bring my scissors with me if I take them outside in case I need to edit the tape. But anyway, or cut the tape, I mean. But anyway, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I am going to wrap up in a second. But, you know, I want to give a shout out to Snow Dub. I want to give a shout out to Never Said It Would Be Easy, Just Worth the Entertainment. I want to give a shout out to my turtles. I want to thank Lady Mist and James for hanging out and tuning in today. Etc., etc. Oh, you know, I got everyone. I think we got everyone today. All right. So, yeah, before I leave my desk, I'm going to set up the video encoder. And we're going to do this using the slow settings this time, because we want to make it a very more compressed file. And we're going to do something even better. We're going to use a different... Wait a second. Where's Lord of the Rings? All right, so I keep forgetting. I'm putting it in the Babylon 5 folder because I'm too lazy to do it properly right now. But there we go. We're good to go. So we're going to do... Oh, and the audio... Ooh, that's a tricky one, actually. So I picked the wrong audio codec. So this is a surround sound track. So I can either just copy the original audio track and keep it as is, or I can compress it using FLAC. I'm going to use FLAC, I think. The only problem is that I'm picking 16-bit FLAC, and I don't know if it's 24-bit or 16-bit. It's an AC3 audio coding, Dolby, I think True HD or some crap like that. 48 kilohertz. I'd have to play the movie file again to confirm the audio format. So if we go into that folder that had the original file, I guess we could do that real quick. So what we do is we open it in VLC Media Player. And while we're playing the movie Lord of the Rings, we go here, codec information, and we read what it says. And this is going to be a big list because it's got like a lot of tracks, got a lot of subtitles. What's up, Peter Venkman? The Peter Venkman fan site. So it says, one thing I hate, I wish I could get The Hobbit at 48 frames per second, but I can only get it at 23 frames per second, 24. And I know a lot of people didn't like it at 48. But I feel like it's easier to take 48 frames and convert it to 24 than it is. Obviously, I don't, you know, if I go to upscale it or up convert it, that would just be artificial. So here we are, Dolby True HD, 32 bits per sample. I don't know if 24-bit audio is appropriate for this, but I'm going to pick 24-bit audio just because it feels right. Sometimes, dealing with True HD audio tracks gets a little messy. And we're just going to add it to the queue. And you can see a list of movies that were already done earlier today. Now, what's interesting is I already did a bunch of movies earlier today. So if I go into the input folder here called I2, we have 40 gigabytes of movies. But over here, I have 8 gigabytes. So basically, I record videos in OBS using the NVIDIA encoder. And I went from 40 gigabytes. And after compressing it, I went down to 8 gigabytes. So that's like, you know, less than a quarter of the original size. And so why don't I just compress it while recording? Well, because the NVIDIA encoder is faster. It allows me to do other things at the same time. But now that we got the original stuff, you know, dealt with, we can delete everything in that 40 gig folder, and then I can go and maybe do like another batch. So I can say, let's take everything here. Maybe that's too many items. Let's take a small amount of items, like 27 items here. And what we do is we just drag and drop them here. We pick the settings, we add them to the queue, and we let it run. But since Lord of the Rings is going to take a while to process, I can just let this add and finish the rest later. So, in all seriousness, thank you, everyone. David Glenn, James, Lady Mist, Snowdub, Never Said It Would Be Easy, Just Worth the Entertainment. And I hope I'm not forgetting anyone. And the Peter Venkman fan site for tuning in. If you... don't forget to hit, of course you can hit the like button. I'm not even going to tell you to hit the like button, because if you're coming here to say hi, that means you like me enough to hit the like button. But jokes aside, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for tuning in. You all have a great evening. Enjoy your Friday evenings. May the Schwartz be with you. For anybody watching on the replay, if you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please leave a comment. Please like and subscribe. And for now,